Hi everyone, in today's lesson we'll be taking a look at slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines. But first, let's take a look at something that you learned in Algebra 1, and that is slope. Slope is often referred to as the rate of change. You may also know it as rise over run. In mathematical terms, sometimes we write delta y divided by delta x. And that little triangle, delta, stands for change in. So change in y divided by the change in x. We can also write this in the form that we're going to use most often, which is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And typically, we use the letter m to represent slope. Now, in Algebra 1, you found slope in a variety of ways, like from a table, from a graph, from having 2 points. And today we're going to focus on just using a pair of points, but also using a graph. Okay, for our first example, we have to find the slope between these 2 points, 4, 3, which I'll label as x1, y1, and negative 2, negative 5, which will be x2, y2. So remember, for a slope, we want to do the change in y's first. So we actually want to take negative 5 minus that 3. And we're going to divide it by the change in the x's. So we're going to take negative 2 minus 4. Negative 5 minus 3 gives us negative 8. Negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. And when we reduce that, first of all, it's going to be positive because we have a negative divided by a negative. And 4 and 6 are both divisible by 2. 8 and 6 are both divisible by 2. So it'll be 4 over 3. We leave slope as an improper fraction. Now, just so you know, you can also do the slope as 3 minus negative 5 divided by 4 minus negative 2. What's important to keep in mind is that whatever your points are, they have to line up vertically with a y in the numerator. So 4 and 3 go together, and negative 2 and negative 5 go together. However, in the end, if you've done your math right, you should still end up with the same slope. 3 minus a negative 5 becomes 3 plus 5, which is 8. 4 minus a negative 2 becomes 4 plus 2, which is positive 6. And 8 over 6 reduces to 4 over 3. So same answer, different approach. So both are okay. Just remember, don't mix up your points. All right, finding slope from a graph, you want to start at a point, or the point, that's further on the left on your graph. And then you want to first rise. So we want to go up from that point until we get to a horizontal line where I go to the right. I'm going to hit another point on the graph right here. All right, so let's take a look at how far we went. So moving this way on the y-axis, moving up, I went through 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. So the rise is 4. And then going to the right, I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I could say that my slope is 4 over 6, but that reduces to 2/3. So we could have also have gone up 2 and to the right 3. You want to make sure that you have 2 very solid points that you're using to find your slope. So in other words, you want to stop at a point where it's easy to determine the coordinates. So one thing that you may not have covered in Algebra 1 is how the slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines compare. If we take a look at line AB, that's the lower line here. Line AB, if I figure out its slope, I'm going to start at A and go down 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a negative 4 because I'm moving in the negative direction for the y-axis. And then I want to go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's positive 5 because I'm going to the right for x. So line AB, its slope would be equal to negative 4 over 5. All right, we're going to find the slope of line CD next. Okay, I'm going to start at point C because it's further to the left. I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. That's negative 4. And then to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So line CD also has a slope equal to negative 4 over positive 5. So these two lines are parallel. So we could say that AB, line AB, is parallel to line CD. And that's because parallel lines have the same slope. All right, perpendicular lines. Well, perpendicular lines obviously don't have the same slope because line EF has a positive slope and line AB has a negative slope. You can just tell that by looking at them, which direction they're pointing. All right, so if we find the slope of line AB, and we're just going to do it from the graph, I would go down 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's negative 4. And then to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So negative 4/5. And now for the other line, line EF, again, start at a point to the left here at E, go to F. We're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the slope of line EF is 5 over 4. Now, these two slopes are not the same, so again, they're not parallel to each other, but these two lines are perpendicular. Negative 4 over 5 and 5 over 4 are what we call negative reciprocals. Okay, what that means in a practical sense is that you take one fraction and you flip it over, that's the reciprocal, but one of your fractions is negative, the other one is positive. So we say that perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. Okay, now a quick test to see that your numbers are indeed negative reciprocals. If you're just not sure, if you multiply them together, notice that we would end up with negative 20 over 20, which is negative 1. So this proves that they're negative reciprocals right here, okay? Okay, so we're going to do some quick practice together. And CYU stands for check your understanding. So I'm just going to check and see if you understand what slope is all about. So for number 1, we just have to find the slope of the line that passes through points A and B. If you start at B and you want to go to A, we would go up 2 and to the right 1. So we would say the slope is equal to 2 over 1 or just 2. Either one is fine. Okay, for number 2, we want to find the slope of each line and then determine if they're parallel. So the slope of line DC would be equal to positive 3 over 2. I go up 3 and to the right 2. And the slope of line EF is equal to positive 3 over 2. So we would say yes. And they're parallel because they have the same slope. Okay, quick check on number 3. We want to find the slope of each line and then determine if the lines are perpendicular. All right, so for this line, GH, its slope would be negative 1 over 2. And then for the slope of line IJ, looks like we could go 1, 2, 3, 4 over 2. And right now they don't look like they're reciprocals, but if you reduce 4 over 2, it simplifies to 2 over 1. And negative 1/2 and 2 over 1 are negative reciprocals. So are the lines perpendicular? Yes, they are. Okay. For number 4, you're asked to graph, and we're going to do limited graphing just because you may not have graph paper at home. But just to kind of work through this, it says graph the line parallel to line AB through point P. So we have our point P, but we have to know the slope, and our slope is 2 over 3. So the slope of our new line has to be the same, right? For parallel lines, they have the same slope. So start at P and go up 2, and to the right 3. There's another point, and then you would just connect those 2 points. I like to get more points on my line just for accuracy's sake, especially since I'm not working with a ruler here to make that line. So parallel lines, same slope. Okay, number 5, we have to graph the line perpendicular to line AB that passes through P. So the slope of line AB looks like it's positive 3 over 1. So our new slope has to be equal to negative 1/3, right? Their slopes are negative reciprocals. So I want to start at point P and come down 1 and then go over 1, 2, 3. Just so happens that I hit point B, so there would be my perpendicular line. Okay, so perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. All right, finally the last one, number 6, tell whether the lines through the points are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So what we have to do is find the slope of both of the lines. So slope of line 1 would be equal to 3 minus 2 divided by 2 minus negative 1. Remember, we have x's and y's, x, y. So I'm taking 3 minus 2, the change in y. I'll write the slope formula here. And we're dividing it by the change in the x. So 2 minus a negative 1. The only tricky thing about slope, other than getting the x's and the y's in the right spot, is watching your signs in here. 3 minus 2 is 1. 2 minus a negative 1 becomes 2 plus 1, which is 3. So the slope of line 1 is 1/3. Okay, for the slope of line 2, we're going to do 1 minus 0, that's the change in y, divided by 3 minus 0, and we end up with 1/3. These two lines have the same slope, they're parallel. Okay, that's it. Good luck on your homework. As always, don't hesitate to ask if you need some help.